Welcome to my channel. My name is Luma, and today I will be showcasing and explaining on how I made this sword. I hope you guys enjoy. So how I made this sword was simply from a cardboard pipe. One of those pipes that you would get from cellophane or a roll of wrapping paper, and that is what I used. So I flattened out this part for the sword, and then I wrapped some newspaper and glued it all down with some PVA glue. While I waited for it to dry, it unfortunately did go flop, but I did manage to find some leftover cardboard pieces that I managed to stuff down inside of the pipe to make it a bit more solid. As you can tell, it's not as it's not as bendable as it was before. So that way it gave a bit more support and it becomes a bit more solid. Next up, all I really did, I cut the end of the pipe to get that, the end of the blade with the end of the sword shape. Obviously it's not that even, but again, I'm not that good when it comes to cutting things even. After that, I made sure there was enough cardboard inside of the pipe before I sealed off the end, and I made sure I paper mache'd the ends well enough so that way nothing is shown and everything is sealed off pretty good. So I went over with another coat of paper, but this time I used regular paper. Next up, I had some Ava foam, and I added strips of Ava foam around on one side. Unfortunately, I should have done both sides because this side has a bit more 3D look to it, and this side doesn't. This side is a bit more smoother than this side. That doesn't matter now because the sword's obviously already done. So next up, all I did was, since I already had a template of the sword shape, I just glued and cut out another piece to glue over top, just to get rid of any extra fold, paper overlapping and stuff, just to smooth that all out. Obviously, so the foam pieces that I did earlier were to help bring out the edges of the actual blade part of the sword. And yeah, so that's basically all I did for that part. So I painted this purple, and then up here I started with the handle. Obviously I didn't squish this, so I had to make sure there was plenty of cardboard stuffed in this side as well, so that way it doesn't collapse when holding it. So all I did was use regular paper, and I wrapped around, I had strips of paper, I wrapped it around, glued it as I went. I wrapped it all around, and so before I painted it, I believe, I made this part of the sword. So I drew up what I wanted and tried to not overcomplicate it, because I knew if I did, it would just not work for me. So I did a very simple design, and then I glued it on some foam paper. As you can tell, it's quite floppy, but it's still standing strong. It's still pretty good. I painted them gold before I decided to glue them where I wanted it. So I think I started painting this gold as well. And then I glued, first up I used some hot glue to glue on these two ends together. And then I put it through and lined it up where I wanted it, which was of course between the blade and the handle. And then obviously, once it's lined up, I put some hot glue in behind this piece, and of course this piece, and then I hot glued around the edges. As you can tell, it's still a little bit messy. I tried to keep it smooth. I tried to keep it smooth as possible, and yeah. But yeah, you get the idea. I glued both sides together, and surprisingly it came out pretty good. And then I just painted the hot glue gold, so that way it covers all the mess up. And then I just cut out some diamonds and painted them purple to match up with the color of the sword. in the pipe. So I put some cuts in the pipe and then just folded it inside of itself and then wrapped it around with some extra foam and another piece of foam and then a round piece of foam at the top. And then just hot glued it all together and painted it gold. And overall, that is the sword. So originally for the inspiration for the sword was, one, I just really like swords. Two, this was originally my OC's sword. So I wanted to see if I could actually make it in real life, even though this, keep in mind, this is my first attempt, so please do not at me if it's bad. First attempt for everything, right?